Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the sunny streets of Southern California. And this is the Friday, the 29th of June, 2019, folks. And boy, do we got a story for you this morning. That's right, New York has declared a climate emergency, folks. That's right, New York has declared a climate emergency. For those of you that don't know what a climate emergency is, well, you're not alone, neither do I. But I guess it's in response to what they call global warming, right? Two words that are absolute lies. Number one, it's not a globe, and two, it's not warming. Now, I will give you this, the weather is changing, ladies and gentlemen, and that's because it is being influenced by technologies that are deployed to influence the weather. You know, we've got these infrastructure arrays everywhere. You've got these Doppler radar installations. You've got these massive cell tower installations. You've got these HARP antenna farms. You've got all these things all over the country, right, folks? We've got ionospheric heaters. We got microwave heaters and all these radar installations that if they just power them up, they can superheat the systems, right? You know, if they spray these metallic nanocompounds in the atmosphere and they hit them with a microwave beam, guess what happens when you microwave metals? They get hot! Oh boy, right? You know, the real agenda here, ladies and gentlemen, is to do away with what I'm doing right now, and that's driving. They don't want you to have free access to the terrain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834, joeimbriano777 at gmail.com, and on the web at thefullertoninformer.com, wifidangers.com, 5gdangers.com, celltowerdangers.com, vaxdangers.com, and all kinds of different websites, folks. So what is it that they're after, really? Let's break this down here, folks. So New York declares a climate emergency. We have a climate emergency, folks. They need to stop spraying! They need to stop spraying these nanoparticles, these metallic, the fly ash, all this aluminum and all these metals, right? That's what they're doing. And they just hit it with these radio frequency beams and heat it up and move the jet stream around and tell everybody, oh boy, looky here. It's global warming. The weather's changed. How about that? You don't say. Jeepers, what happened to the weather? I guess it's all the plant food that's coming out of our lungs, right? Ladies and gentlemen, 95% of the United States is rural open space. And they've got everybody crammed into New York City like a bunch of sardines in a can. And they're going live with 5G in New York as these beam-forming millimeter wave signals are bouncing off all these glass buildings and going right into everybody's eyeballs, right? The model is to get everybody into the scientific kill grid. The model is to get everybody's resource consumption limited. The model is to eliminate everyone's mobility. They do not want you, you know, most people I ask this question point blank, what percentage of the United States do you think is open space? And I said, what 10, 20, 25, 30, and I'll stop there, right? I'll stop there. And they'll say, oh, maybe 35%. And I'll say, no, they'll say 40, 41. And nobody believes me when I say that 95% of the United States is rural open space. And then when I finally explain, well, this is according to the U.S. Census Department. These are official figures, official numbers. I mean, you know, this is not a joke, folks. This is real. This is real, ladies and gentlemen. And what is happening is we're being told that we're running out of everything. Well, that may be true when they put everybody in a box and say there's not enough sawdust to poop on the floor on anymore, because that's what they're doing to us. They're literally putting us in a cage and telling us we don't have enough water to flush our toilets, when there's infinite supplies of water under the ground. Because why? Well, herein is the lie. You see, they call this global warming, right? They say it's a global problem. Well, first of all, it's not a spinning globe, folks. The Earth is a flat plane with a dome on top of it, and there is water above the dome, and there's water under the ground, and the land goes up and down on the water. That's called the tides, folks. And why do you think we don't have tides in the Great Lakes, but we have tides in the ocean? Because the tides are only caused by land going up and down on the waters below us. And the Great Lakes are landlocked. They're not going up and down on anything. But there's a tremendous amount of fresh water underground, an unlimited supply of water that would be enough to supply humanity for eternity, right? Because God made it that way. Before we had this arrangement that we have now, in the beginning, when God said, I've had enough with you people doing what you're doing, and he flooded the place, he opened the windows of heaven, and the waters came down from above the dome. And if you want to know how he did it, he just unzipped the dome at the Milky Way. Go look at the Milky Way if you can still see it. That's the tear in the dome where the waters entered during the flood. And he also broke open the fountains of the what? The deep. The water under the ground. You see, folks, when it rained for 40 days and 40 nights and the water ended up going to 20,000 feet, you don't get that from a rainstorm. You get that from a deluge when the windows of heaven were opened. Okay? But see, the lie is we live on a spinning ball, and that there's, you know, Disney's going to spend $10 billion on a Star Trek ride over Disneyland, right? They want everybody, or Star Wars, they want everybody thinking they got spaceships, but we got a climate emergency in New York, right? There's infinite land and infinite water, folks. There's infinite resources. I live in Southern California. Vasco de Balboa 500 years ago came to this place in his ship and said this place is uninhabitable because it was nothing but smoke and desert. There was a bunch of fires burning from the natural Santa Ana winds and the brush catching on fire. And the first eyes on this area, Southern California, one of the most incredibly beautiful areas in the world in terms of its climate, is that it was uninhabitable. And now it's basically a lush paradise. There's trees, palm trees, and agriculture, and, you know, all kinds of things, folks. My point is that, you know, they said this was uninhabitable because there's no water. Well, the water's under the ground. Where do you think all the water went after the flood? It went into the ground. It's still there. They just won't let us have it. They want us living in a high-rise, getting electrocuted by all these communication systems, you know, Wi-Fi and 5G, and, you know, they want you under these blue lights, these LED lights in front of these blue light LED screens, and they want you, you know, getting your food out of a magnetron that's absorbing all of the phthalates and the dioxin and all of the BPA and all of the nice fancy chemicals that leach out of the packing materials when you put it in the microwave. And then you ingest those, and you know, endocrine cancers, they begin as a result of, you know, the improper lighting spectrum affecting your circadian rhythm, and you know, the melatonin disruption affecting your sleep, and all of these endocrine disrupting chemicals affecting all of the aforementioned, right? So we don't have a climate disaster going on, folks. We have a man-made eugenics agenda that is being disguised as a out-of-control phenomenon that is really totally under control. The weather is under the control, folks, of the controllers, okay? You don't think they've had decades and decades? I mean, for crying out loud, ladies and gentlemen, Google California's geoengineered drought, the Fullerton Informant, right? And I've got the patents for the weather modification on the website. I mean, they got the patents for the stuff, for crying out loud. They put it out there. They're not hiding it. They just want you to think that, you know, Bernie Sanders is going to give everybody free everything, and you get to live in a free apartment and get your free ding-dongs and your Hot Pockets and your porno and your student loans and your pills and your pot and your Pinocchio cartoons, right? Is that what that's what they want you to think you're going to have? Okay, folks, so New York has declared a climate emergency. That kind of goes along the line with Dane Wigington talking about a climate collapse. Now, I haven't seen what a climate collapse looks like, but he's telling everybody that we're on a spinning ball, that NASA's got all the information, and that we're facing a climate collapse. Well, I'm sorry, but the climate's not going to collapse, folks, because the climate can't collapse, because the climate doesn't have a roof. And the roof's not going to collapse because God made the firmament, and this is a closed system. And although there will be flooding and all these crazy weather systems, the system is not going to collapse. They're just going to rig it so it's bad enough to get you to give up all your rights and give up your way of life. In California, in the meantime, I couldn't help but mention this. You know, they're worrying in New York about a climate emergency. They're declaring it, so you know what that means, right? A climate emergency means that new rationing laws kick in and restrictions kick in on things. When they make these declarations, the things that follow are restrictions, like restrictions on water consumption. And water is very important because you can't grow food without water. Your grapevine won't grow, your avocado tree won't grow, your orange tree won't grow, your plum tree, your apricot tree, your nectarine tree, your mandarin tree. Even your pot plants won't grow without water. And you can't wash your clothes or take showers if you're on 20 gallons a day. Well, that'll come, because basically they want us back into the squalor of the Dark Ages, where the streets will be littered with fecal matter and the rats will be ruling, like what's going on in downtown LA. That's exactly what is going on in Los Angeles, folks. So anyway, I was going to get back into California. California's trying to pass, I think it's AB4 or SB4. It's either a Senate or Assembly Bill 4. They want to give illegal aliens free health insurance. Yeah. You know, I was at the grocery store yesterday. I had to pick up a couple of items. I was in line, and the guy in front of me, he had a nice pair of Nikes on, $150 shoes. He had a nice watch on. He had some nice gold jewelry. He had a nice workout outfit on. Expensive. This guy was probably donning about $500 worth of trinkets on his body, right? And what does he do? He's got the EBT card, right? And he doesn't speak English. He was speaking Spanish. And, he just walks out in the parking lot with his free food, big bag of free stuff, right? And so I'm behind him in the line, and then I've got to put in my card, and my card takes the money out of my account. And that is money that I earned after I've paid taxes, because the money doesn't go into my account until the government takes the taxes out. And then I get to have what's left, right? And then I get to have what's left, and then I've got to use it. This guy, he doesn't have to do anything. He gets a free account, right? So I get home, and what's on the table? The medical insurance bill, right? Yeah. I got to pay for my medical insurance. And you know what else? I've got to pay for my car insurance. And I've got to pay for all my stuff, right? What a bunch of nut jobs, huh? The California legislature, the New York legislature, mandatory vaccines in New York, climate emergency in New York, free health care for illegal aliens in California, right? We're being ruled by maniacs, ladies and gentlemen. Now, all's not lost. All's not lost, folks. Because guess what? We're still free, right? You don't have to take those vaccines. Just don't send your kids to public schools, right? You don't have to follow those water mandates. Just water your trees. Just tell them, hey, look, folks, The biggest thing we can do is resist at all levels. And by the way, stop hiring illegal aliens. You know, there's a such thing as the high cost of cheap help. Did it ever occur to you? But let's get into the discussion on this guy. And you know, I hear some pushback from you, like, oh, there's no such thing as an illegal, right? Well, you know, just like there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory. Look, when someone enters this country illegally, they've broken into our home. They've trespassed. I'll tell you what, give me your address and the keys to your front door and the keys to your bedroom, and I'll tell them where you're at, and you can give them free everything. You know, you can give them a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a hot cot, a hot pocket, a hot shower, and a hot night with your wife, right? Is that what's going on? Because that's what's going on here. They're using the massage parlors. That's what they're doing. Do I need to go into the information I have on what these day laborers are doing to these women in the massage parlors? They brag about it to me. They laugh at me. They say they got their wife down in Mexico, and you know, they spend an extra $40 and they get that extra 30 minutes, right? And they get to go in the back, and the things happen that they want to happen. And they laugh. And they say they get a younger, you know, this one was 16 or 17. They're laughing about how young these girls are in these massage parlors, right? It's not funny. So these guys, you know, they're running construction business without licenses, putting all these contractors out of business. They don't have insurance, putting all these legitimate contractors out of business. And, you know, they're not paying taxes. They're working for cash. They don't get married. So their girlfriend gets to have the kids, and the girlfriend gets the Section 8 apartment, or the housing vouchers, and the free lunch, the free daycare, the free medical care, the free dental care, the free sex changes, the free tuition, the free backpacks, the free shoes, the free glasses, the free orthodontics, right? And, you know, he'll file the earned income tax credit at the end of the year, and so will she, and they'll get back a $10,000 refund, right? In the meantime, they get free food, and they supersize me at the drive-thru with that 72-ounce soda. And you know, eventually, what happens is all that corn syrup turns into diabetes, and you know, they're on dialysis on our dime, right? And their kids are heading down the same path. What am I getting at, folks? What I'm getting at is that this is nuts, right? So, you know, New York's got this climate emergency, right? You know, California's got an emergency of its own, and California is being run by complete criminals, and they're catering to criminals. You see, when people enter this country legally, they're criminals. And oh, you're racist. Oh, you know, oh, you're no Christian. You know what? I want to tell you something about Christianity, folks. Christianity has been hijacked by the churches. You see, nobody in these churches even really truly understands the Bible. You want to know why? Because they went to these seminaries that are controlled by the devil worshippers. Look at the churches, folks. Where is the outrage over all the horrible things that are going on? Out of all the things I just said right now, there isn't one church anywhere that's going to talk about these things. Let's talk about the globe earth. What a fraud that is, right? The Bible doesn't say the earth's a spinning ball. It says the earth is immovable, that the earth is in the shape of a disc like the face of a compass, and that it speaks of waters beneath. Why is that significant? Well, for two reasons. While they're telling you we're having a climate emergency, they're going to get you on water restrictions because they're trying to tell you there's no water, right? And the water's all under the ground because according to the biblical model of the earth, the land is literally floating on the water below, and it is. And there's an endless supply of water, and Florida's got the most shallow access to it, by the way. But they won't let us have it. As a matter of fact, they give us toilet to tap, which is nothing but purified crap, folks. And they're not getting all the pharmaceuticals and stuff out of the water. They're just re-injecting it into the aquifer and delivering it back to your house, and eventually, you know, the atrazine and the estradiol and the orthonovin and the Prozac and the Xanax and you know, the prednisones and the Ansef and all of these pharmacological agents, the opiate derivatives, and and the pain medications. It's just a matter of time before the concentrations go through the roof. I mean, how many times can you filter sewage and end up with actual sewage? I mean, the concentrations of these chemical agents keep increasing every time the aquifer is recharged with the sewage water. They can't get it all out. What's the solution to that? Well, get reverse osmosis in your house at the end stage on your tap if you're going to have some water. Make sure you have mineral supplementation. Have plenty of salt, good pink Himalayan salt or Celtic salt or whatever. So that's just the globe earth and the scam with the water, right? So then we go into what, folks? About how we're supposed to have borders. You see, the Bible talks about borders and nations. The Bible talks about sovereignty and nations. It also talks about how to care for the poor. And it's the job of the church to care for the poor, not the government. But see, the government not only is creating an industry out of poverty, they're importing it to expand the industry. I had a friend of mine who had a auto shop and was looking to expand his shop and build a body shop. And he was outbid by the city of Fullerton for the property many times over. He was able to secure funding for several $1 million to develop this property and to continue to expand his business and hire more workers. And the city of Fullerton kept outbidding him with our tax money to build low-income housing for illegal aliens. That's right. That's right. These people that are living in this apartment building that's now on his shop, they're illegal aliens actually living in this building. And it put him and his company out on the streets. I know of another gentleman who runs a business in Orange County, and because of circumstances I can't discuss, he was forced to sell his commercial property that he runs a manufacturing facility on. And so, as a result of a dispute between the partnership, he was forced to sell the business property location. And who bought the property? The municipality. And what are they going to do? Low-income housing. And so what has happened in other areas? They're selling these industrial properties to cities to develop things like homeless shelters and low-income housing. You see what's happening, folks? What they are doing is they are commoditizing the price of commercial property to warehouse the imported poverty and destroying businesses at the same time. That's part of the plan, to get us all into the plantation and onto the plantation. You see, folks, the agenda is to get you into the box and declare an emergency. And then they can limit the water, limit the travel, limit the times and the methods of travel. That's how they do it, folks. That's what they do. That's how they do it. And that's what they want you to do in a city near you, folks, because it's coming. It's coming to a city near you. They're going to declare these climate emergencies everywhere. And, you know, they'll start eventually banning traffic and cars. And look, there's no end to it, ladies and gentlemen. There's no end to it. What do we have to do, okay? What do we have to do? Well, you've got to pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to understand what they're up to. And they're lying to you. They're lying to you about the shape of the earth, so you won't understand that there's an infinite. If you understood the shape of the earth, you wouldn't fall for the fact that we're running out of water, because all the water is still under the ground. You wouldn't fall for this climate change crap, because the climate is changing, but not because of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is plant food, folks. The more CO2 in there, the more it makes the plants and the trees grow. Those are facts. Those are simple facts, ladies and gentlemen. And you can't argue with these facts, all right? But they're trying to argue with these facts because they want to control you. They want to limit what you eat. Now, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to make synthetic meat. You won't be able to eat beef or have agricultural products that are grown in natural environments. They want to be grown inside buildings under fake light and grown in a chemical slurry. So that's another aspect of this climate emergency. And eventually it's going to be electricity usage. They'll limit your electricity usage and your water and your food, and eventually your right to have children. You know, the breadbasket's underwater in the United States right now. It's an agricultural wasteland in the Middle East, the Midwest, excuse me. And in the Middle East, we have a powder keg that's about to go off. And the Oroville Dam could potentially go off on the 4th of July, destroying the Central Valley agriculture. There's a lot going on, folks. And here's what we need to do. We need to stay awake, okay? We need to stay awake. We need to not bring the 5G, and we need to not take the shots. We need to get rid of all these LED lights. I keep talking about the same things, folks, because this is how we do it. We don't bring these 5G repeaters into our home. And we say no to the rationing. We say no to the GMOs. We say no to the poisons. We say no to the potions and the lotions and all the crap they're trying to kill us with, the sunscreen and the sunglasses and everything else. And we just be an uncontrollable bunch of scoundrels that will be impossible to control. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do, ladies and gentlemen. And you have to understand that all the crises that are in place are being created by the government. The government is in the business of crisis creation. That's right. So what's the solution? Limit the taxes you pay. Do everything you can to limit your tax liability. And don't contribute to the importation of poverty. Don't hire these illegals. And if you're an employer, stop the magnet from being energized to keep bringing more and more up. Because, you know, all that's happening is it's just going to eventually, you know, normalize the wages for even your children. Because the price of labor drops when the supply of labor increases. And there's no end in sight to the supply of labor. And with all this automation, folks, we're all going to end up in one of these high density, low income housing units, right? This is a great drink, folks. I want to go over this. What we've got here is 1 teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of black pepper, a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 2 Eureka lemons that have been juiced, half a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, and some shaved ginger, 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, a 1/4 teaspoon of coral powder, a little bit of collagen. What am I missing? Am I missing anything? I put a little stevia in here too, by the way. The turmeric is really good for your joints. Cayenne pepper is really good for your circulation. You need the black pepper to absorb the turmeric. Oh, did I tell you I had 5 drops of iodine in a small glass of water before I started out with this? Yeah, that's right. And I had 2 apricot seeds this morning. I broke the pits open and ate the kernels inside there. All right? And so the apple cider vinegar is really good for your digestion. And, you know, the lemon juice is really good. Alkalinizes your blood and gets the radiation out of your body. Did you know lemon juice gets radiation out of your body? Anyway, it's a good drink. And I do want to thank you for sending me this cup. I use it every day. I'm not going to yell anymore right now because it's Friday. And you know what? There are all kinds of emergencies we face, ladies and gentlemen. Right? You know how you deal with these emergencies? 1 step at a time, folks. 1 step at a time. Right? 1 day at a time, 1 step at a time. You know what the solutions to our problems are? All of us doing something about them. Not just sitting there and waiting for someone else to solve our problems, folks. All right? I know a lot of you out there have some circumstances and situations. I get a lot of letters and emails from all of you, and it's you just got to take yourself up by your bootstraps and change your environment, change the terrain. You know, I mean, if you've got a chronic health problem, take simple steps to solve them. And you know, it's no good without God, folks. You got to get right with God. You got to read the Bible, and you got to know Jesus. And Jesus isn't found in the churches, ladies and gentlemen. You know, they've taken these heroes and turned them into religions, and these religions have been turned into businesses. What you need to know is that the church doesn't have Jesus in it, folks. You know, these Christian churches, I'll go down the line here. Let's say we got Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, we've got, what do we got? We got evangelical, we got like these Calvary chapels, and then we got these, let's see, Presbyterian, and Episcopalian, and let's see, what else we got out there? I mean, what a bunch of nonsense, huh? They're all corporations. Did you know that? Did you know that all these churches are corporations? Did you know that they're all agents of the government and FEMA? Right? Jesus doesn't hang out in those places, folks. Oh yeah, the Assembly of God and all. They're corporations. They're businesses. They're businesses. Get out of them. They're all crooks. They're all crooks. All these churches are the problem, folks. Because I shouldn't have to sit here and tell you all this stuff. They should be teaching you this stuff. But they won't talk about anything except making you give them your money. While they hide the truth of God's word that is literally right in your face in the first chapter of the Bible, right? Right? They don't teach you to look out for yourselves and look out for your neighbors. They give you these little songs you sing, and they make you feel good about feeling sorry for yourself. Are you kidding me? The church is not even in the Bible, folks. The word church isn't in the Bible. And the word ecclesia in the Bible is referring to an activity of coming out. Getting out, right? To come out of what's there. You know, Jesus Christ is my hero, folks. He's also my Lord and my Savior for several reasons. Number one, He is the fulfillment of all biblical prophecy. And number two, He is the way, the truth, and the life. And number three, He has shown us that there is the ability to live victoriously because He did it Himself. He conquered the grave. Now, His power gives us victory over sin, and if you're in a bad situation, folks, don't make it worse by blaming Him. And when you slam your finger with the hammer, say, oh, GDM, whatever, you don't blame Him. You know, I hear people, oh my gosh, you know, they're about to die, and they say, Jesus Christ. Why don't they say it before they die? How about they say that in the morning? Thank you, Jesus Christ. Instead of getting mad and saying His name. See how everybody's got everything upside down? The most important thing I can do to any of you listening to me is to make sure that you're right with God, folks. Because everything in this world is working against God. The schools, the churches, the corporations, the media, the entertainment companies, everything. Everything is anti-God, folks. And, you know, the only thing we can do is take matters into our own hands, right? These Catholic churches, I mean, when I look back at it, they've taken these messengers of God and they've turned them into religions. And they've taken these religions and turned them into businesses. And they've taken these businesses and they've turned them against us to take our money and to control us and to put us to sleep. Have you ever heard a sermon in any church about how Jesus was justified going into the temple and throwing those tables of the money changers all over the place? And beating the living crap out of those people with a whip, not once but twice? What do you think He did that for, and what do you think He was trying to say with that statement and that action? What do you think He was saying, folks? It was the banking system and the money changers, ladies and gentlemen. All right? And what happened when He stood up to that authority? Here's the problem. You know what the problem was? Nobody had His back, and He was there all by Himself, so they killed Him. Oh, you can go to church, and the first thing they'll do is they give Him $1 and get your donut, give Him another $1, get your coffee, and carry your Bible in there like a good phony Christian and sit in the pew and sing a few songs, and then listen to some emasculated moron water everything down and make you laugh and entertain you, and then they change the lighting a few times, right? And then you go outside and you pretend like you're happy, and you pretend like you're having a conversation with these people that you pretend like you know. And your kids come out of Sunday school and they got a lollipop and they're smiling because they just had a bunch of sugar and they got to watch a Disney video. And then you get in your car that's not paid for and take off those clothes that are uncomfortable to wear that you just bought that you're showing off, and then you go home and then you turn the TV on. What have you accomplished? Well, absolutely nothing! What have they accomplished? A lot, because guess what? They get to go home for the day. They did their work for the week. They got your money. And what do you have to do, folks? Come out of that. And I'm going to keep hammering on these churches, because the reason why we have forced vaccinations and climate emergencies and 5G and all this perverted crap on TV and all these wicked doctors pushing all these wicked evil drugs on everybody and all these messed up kids and all these divorced families and all these people on the streets and all these crimes and these murders, these pedophiles, is because the church has not done its job, folks. Because the churches are worthless. Absolutely worthless, folks. They don't take care of the poor. They don't warn the people of the doom and the impending harm. They don't give people instructions. They don't fight for their people. These pastors are hirelings. They're not shepherds. They're actually running the frickin' slaughterhouses. I got no mercy for these people anymore, folks. Time for you to take care of yourselves. It's time to prepare for a food shortage and economic upheaval. All right, folks. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer. God bless all of you. Let's get right with God and stay safe out there and have a good weekend. We may be back at you. Good to see all of you. It's nice to see all of you. Save your money. Spend it on your family and the poor, not the crooks in the church. Have a great day, folks.